All right, so the 2025 NL West, huh? I gotta say, there's some serious buzz building around this division. You got the Dodgers gunning for another title. You got teams thinking this is their year, and then you got, well, everyone else kind of playing the long game. But to really wrap our heads around what might go down, we're going deep on some seriously sharp analysis.
You hit the nail on the head there. And what makes this deep dive so cool is that we're not just speculating, we're grounding everything we talk about in hard data. And for that, we got to give a huge shout out to David Pinto.
Oh, yeah, at Stats Guru, right?
That's the one. He's over at baseballmusings.com, and his breakdown of the NL West is, well, it's the foundation of our whole discussion today. His insights are top-notch, and we owe him big time for sharing his expertise.
Seriously, the guy knows his stuff. Pinto uses this thing called the Pythagorean method. It's basically a fancy way to estimate a team's wins based on how many runs they score versus how many they give up.
Right, so it's all about run differential.
Exactly. And then he plugs in these Musings Marcel's player projections, which are these super detailed forecasts of how each player is expected to perform.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at is a deeply researched, talent-based snapshot of the NL West.
Couldn't have put it better myself. This isn't about hyper gut feelings. It's about objective comparisons of team strength based on the players they have.
And that's what makes this deep dive so valuable for everyone listening. We're going to unpack Pinto's team-by-team assessments, highlight the key factors he's identified, and really break down the NL West landscape as we head into 2025. No hot takes, just cold, hard data.
Love it. Let's dive in.
Let's do it. So right off the bat, Pinto's analysis puts the Los Angeles Dodgers at the top of the heap. No surprises there, right? Their core winning percentage, as the CWP, the talent-based win projection,
Right.
comes in at a whopping .703. That's number one in the division, hands down.
And when you look under the hood, you see exactly why Pinto's model is so high on them. He's projecting their offense to score a ridiculous 6.04 runs created per game. That's RCG, the metric for offensive output. And their pitching. He's got them allowing a measly 3.92 RCG. Both those numbers are way ahead of any other team in the NL West.
Yeah, they're a powerhouse. But here's where it gets really juicy. Pinto dives into some specific player situations that could make or break the Dodgers season. First up, you got the debut of Roki Sasaki. This kid is electric, and Pinto's even hinting that he might exceed those already sky-high expectations.
Man, a pitcher like Sasaki joining an already stacked team, that
Yeah.
could be a game changer. Another ace up their sleeve, making the rotation even deeper and more dangerous.
Exactly. Then you got Dustin May coming back from that weird esophageal injury talk about a freak occurrence. Pinto's got his eye on May's return as another potential boost to their pitching depth. And of course, the big question mark, Mookie Betts' health. We all know how crucial he is to that offense.
No doubt, a healthy Mookie at the top of that lineup changes everything. Pinto also touches on Freddie Freeman, saying there might be some signs of decline from his 2024 performance.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but he's still a huge part of that lineup. Even a slightly less dominant Freddie Freeman is still an offensive force to be reckoned with.
Right, you can't count him out. So, bottom line, what's Pinto's big picture take on the Dodgers?
Well, he's pretty bullish on them. He sees them as even stronger than they were at the start of 2024 and thinks they have a real shot at becoming the first team to repeat as World Series champs since those late 90s Yankees. That's saying something.
No kidding. It all comes down to that incredible depth of talent and their front office's knack for making the right moves. Pinto's analysis pretty much confirms it. The Dodgers are the team to beat.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to the San Diego Padres. Pinto gives them a core winning percentage of .609, putting them in a similar tier as the Arizona Diamondbacks, at least according to his projections.
And what really jumps out from Pinto's breakdown is the potential of their offense. He's got Jackson Merrill and Luis Arias both putting up over 6 runs created per game. That's a serious 1-2 punch at the top of their lineup.
He also says that if guys like Bogaerts, Machado, and Tatis Jr. can exceed their projected 5 RCG, the Padres' offense could be absolutely explosive. But that's a lot of ifs, right? Does Pinto say anything about how likely those guys are to outperform their projections?
He doesn't really get into the specifics of why he projects what he does in this particular piece, but the thing is, relying on multiple players to bounce back like that is a risky proposition. Historically speaking, it's not very common for a bunch of guys with question marks to all suddenly exceed expectations, so that's a big wild card for the Padres, and it might not be fully reflected in that overall CWP. And then there's the pitching. Joe Musgrove is coming off Tommy John surgery, and Yu Darvish is getting up there in age, so there's some uncertainty in that rotation.
Yeah, I see that. So while the offense has a ton of potential, their pitching, led by Michael King and Dylan Cease, might not be quite as reliable as some of the top teams.
Exactly. And that uncertainty in their pitching is a big reason why Pinto sees them as probably a third-place team in this tough division. He thinks they could improve, but right now they seem to be a step behind the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks based purely on talent.
Okay, let's turn our attention to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Pinto's model gives them a CWP of .617, putting them slightly ahead of the Padres. He's projecting them to be a more well-rounded team, with solid offense and pitching.
What are some of the things that stand out to you from Pinto's analysis of the Diamondbacks?
For me, it's the potential of Corbin Carroll. Pinto says if he can keep up the adjustments he made in the second half of 2024, he could become a legitimate superstar.
Yeah, that's huge. A consistent, high-performing Corbin Carroll changes the whole complexion of their offense. Pinto also points to Ketel Marte's bounce-back year in 2024 as a key factor. If he can keep producing at that level, their lineup becomes a lot more dangerous.
And let's not forget about their pitching. Pinto highlights their starting rotation as a major strength, with Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, and Merrill Kelly leading the way. That's a formidable trio right there.
No arguments there. That kind of established talent and depth in the rotation gives them a real edge. Overall, Pinto's pretty high on the Diamondbacks. He's actually got them as the favorites to snag that second-place spot in the division, and he thinks the battle between them and the Padres for a wild card berth will be one to watch.
So based on Pinto's initial analysis, we've got a clear top tier with the Dodgers, a strong contender in the Diamondbacks, and then the Padres trying to keep pace. Now let's talk about the San Francisco Giants. Their core winning percentage sits at .560, according to Pinto.
That CWP suggests a team that's going to be competitive, but maybe lacking that top-end talent to really challenge for the division title. Pinto's analysis points to a team in transition, possibly focusing on building for the future.
He mentions that they don't really have a clear-cut star player heading into 2025. Interestingly, his model projects Tyler Fitzgerald as their best hitter, but he doesn't have a ton of MLB experience, so there's a lot of uncertainty there.
Yeah, for sure. Banking on a guy with limited big league at-bats to lead your offense is always a gamble. Pinto also brings up Matt Chapman, acknowledging his defensive wizardry, but pointing out a downward trend in his offensive production.
Right, and then you have Justin Verlander. He's a legend, but as Pinto notes, he's in the twilight of his career. You can't expect him to be a top-of-the-rotation guy at this point.
Definitely not. So all these factors combined lead Pinto to believe that the Giants might be more focused on a long-term rebuilding strategy. He even makes an interesting observation about Buster Posey's role in the front office and how his influence might be shaping their approach.
It's fascinating how that long-term vision can impact the present. All right, finally, let's get to the Colorado Rockies. Unfortunately for them, David Pinto's analysis paints a pretty bleak picture. Their core winning percentage is a paltry .388, suggesting a really tough season ahead.
Yeah, that's a rough number. And when you dig into Pinto's breakdown, it's clear why he's not optimistic. He identifies Nolan Jones as their only projected offensive player who's likely to be a positive contributor. That puts a ton of pressure on one guy.
And the pitching situation doesn't look much better. Pinto's got their entire pitching staff projected to give up over 5 runs created per game, including their closer. Yikes.
Ouch. When your pitching staff is projected to struggle that badly across the board, it makes it almost impossible for the offense to keep up. Pinto's realistic assessment is that the Rockies' main goal this year might simply be to avoid that dreaded 100-loss mark.
Not exactly inspiring. So to wrap things up, Pinto gives us his initial divisional odds. He's got the Dodgers at 45%, the Diamondbacks at 22%, the Padres at 21%, the Giants at 11%, and the Rockies bringing up the rear with a 1% chance.
And what's really interesting is Pinto's final thought on those odds. He says that 45% chance for the Dodgers might actually be a little low, considering their depth and their history of making big moves mid-season. So he's really doubling down on them as the clear favorites.
Got it. All right, so for everyone listening, here's the TLDR on Pinto's key insights. The Dodgers are the undisputed kings of the NL West heading into 2025. But the battle for second place and that coveted wildcard spot between the Diamondbacks and Padres, that's going to be a nail-biter. The Giants are in a rebuilding phase, looking to the future, while the Rockies, well, they've got their work cut out for them.
Huge thanks to David Pinto, a.k.a. at Stats Guru over at baseballmusings.com, for laying it all out for us. Seriously, folks, if you want to deep dive into the numbers and some seriously smart baseball analysis, head over to his site. He's a must-read for any baseball fan.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. All right, here's a final thought for everyone out there. Given everything Pinto's laid out, what's one unexpected storyline that you think could shake up the NL West race in 2025? Is there a player who could blow up or completely bust and throw those predictions out the window? Let us know what you think.